This film shows an example of the application of the ICAO procedures governing the actions to be taken by the pilot and the air traffic controller in case of an in-flight communication failure. The flight is International 865. If established international and national procedures are correctly used, the pilot and air traffic controllers will work together to ensure the safety of International 865 and all other flights along its route. Although there will be no actual communication between the pilot and the controller, each will know what the other is expected to do by following the accepted standard procedures.
Onyx ground control. This is International 865. Request taxi clearance. Over.
International 865. Cleared to taxi, runway 06 left.
International 865, cleared to Topaz VOR.
Via standard instrument departure, number 5 and red 4. Climb to and maintain flight level 150. Expect further clearance before reaching Topaz VOR.
Roger, International 865, cleared to Topaz VOR via standard instrument departure number 5 and red 4. Climb to and maintain flight level 150. Expect further clearance before reaching Topaz VOR.
A departure from tower. International 865 is ready on 06 left.
International 865 is cleared on 06 left.
Onyx Tower, this is International 865. Request takeoff clearance. Over.
International 865 cleared into position, runway 06 left and hold.
Into position 06 left and hold. International 865.
International 865, cleared for takeoff. Contact Onyx approach, a 120.11 airborne.
Roger, clear for takeoff and call approach on 120.11 airborne. International 865. Gear up. Gear coming up. Onyx approach, this is International 865, airborne, runway 06 left.
International 865, Onyx approach, radar identified, report passing 3,000 feet.
Roger, International 865 will report passing 3,000 feet. Onyx approach, International 865, passing 3,000 feet.
International 865, have you passed 3,000 feet?
Onyx approach, International 865, has passed 3,000 feet.
International 865, Onyx approach, how do you read on 120.1, over? Clipper 134, attempt contact with International 865, I'm not receiving him.
International 865, this is Clipper 134, how do you read, over?
Tower from departure. As International 865, return to your frequency.
Negative, no contact on this frequency.
Circuit breakers are all in. Onyx approach, International 865, passed 3,000 feet 1 minute ago. Onyx approach, International 865, passed 3,000 feet 1 minute ago. We have a communication failure.
A communication failure has occurred, but at this time the pilot may not know whether it is the transmitter or the receiver or both that are not functioning. Therefore, the pilot must first check the equipment, reselect correct frequency, check microphone, press to talk, ensure proper release of microphone button, test the circuit breaker panel, try number 2 VHF set. After these checks, try to re-establish communication.
Onyx approach, this is International 865, do you read me? Onyx approach, this is International 865, do you read me? Over.
No result. Pilot tries to contact another station.
Hi, Topaz Radio. Topaz Radio, this is International 865, do you read me? Topaz Radio, this is International 865, do you read me? Over.
Still no result. Pilot tries to contact other aircraft or ground stations to relay his message.
All stations. All station, this is International 865, do you read me? All station, this is International 865, do you read me? Over.
If these steps fail, then the pilot is assured that a communication failure has occurred. When a pilot realizes that the communication equipment may be out of order, he must decide his further plan without delay. The ICAO communication failure procedures, which prescribe the action by the pilot, are given in Annex 2. The airline pilot must, however, check his operations manual to determine the procedures to be applied in a particular area. General aviation pilots will find this information in the National Aeronautical Information Publication, AIP. When a communication failure occurs, the pilot has to choose between two alternatives, depending upon meteorological conditions. If he is flying in visual meteorological conditions, VMC, the pilot is required to remain in such conditions if at all possible, land at the nearest suitable aerodrome, and report arrival to an air traffic control unit by the most expeditious means. If weather conditions make it impossible to continue in VMC, or if the aircraft is flying in instrument meteorological conditions, IMC, the pilot is required to continue to destination according to the flight plan and the air traffic control clearance. This is the only alternative for International 865. Let's pause for a moment to see the flight plan that the pilot of International 865 has filed with Onyx Center. The meteorological forecast indicated that IMC would exist from 800 feet up to flight level 250 for the whole route of the flight. Now we are going to see the planned flight of International 865 to its destination at Emerald Airport. After takeoff from Onyx, the flight path includes a standard instrument departure to Topaz VOR, and then climbing to and maintaining flight level 260 to Northway VOR. From Northway VOR, commencing climb to flight level 310 to Emerald VOR. Normally, ATC would clear International 865 to descend before reaching Emerald VOR to allow for a gradual en route descent. According to the flight plan, the estimated time of arrival at Emerald Airport is 2240. We see now the entire flight path for International 865 as described in the flight plan. Let's take another look, this time taking into account the two new factors introduced. One, the ATC clearance based on present traffic, and two, the complete communication failure experienced by International 865. Let's follow the yellow line as the pilot proceeds according to the ATC clearance to the clearance limit. The last ATC clearance received by International 865 was to Topaz VOR via Red 4 to climb to and maintain flight level 150. There were no instructions to hold or delay the flight at Topaz VOR. Because of the communication failure, the pilot can expect no further clearances. Therefore, he continues his flight according to the flight plan filed with the Air Traffic Services. On reaching Topaz VOR, International 865 will start to climb to flight level 260, which it will maintain until reaching Northway VOR, and then will climb to flight level 310, which it will maintain to Emerald VOR. The pilot should arrange his flight to arrive over Emerald VOR as close as possible to 2240 hours, the original ETA for Emerald Airport, which will be applied now to the designated navigational aid of the airport of destination. With these pictures of the flight path, let's return to the flight deck and see what else the pilots can do, since they cannot receive or, to the best of their knowledge, transmit. In aircraft equipped with secondary surveillance radar, the pilot can set the transponder to Mode A, code 7600. This is one way to give positive indication to air traffic control that the flight has a communication failure, as a special signal will then appear on the radar display in the air traffic control unit. Now, let us look at the air traffic controller. What are his duties? And what does he do to ensure that the aircraft is protected when there is a communication failure? Whenever the air traffic controller finds he has difficulties in communications with the aircraft, his first action is to check the equipment. Attempting to communicate through another aircraft, such as Clipper 134, is a fast and accurate way of confirmation. If secondary surveillance radar is available both in the aircraft and in the control center, ATC would attempt to establish whether it is a complete communication failure or an aircraft transmitter failure by instructing the pilot to change the secondary surveillance radar code. If only primary radar is available at the control center, and if the aircraft is within radar coverage, the air traffic controller would instruct the pilot to make a specified turn to acknowledge receipt of transmission. To prevent collisions, the controller will have to re-clear any other aircraft that may conflict with the aircraft experiencing communication failure. The air traffic controller transmits blind on the frequencies available, details including voice frequencies of appropriate aids to navigation and approach aids. Details regarding actions taken. Weather conditions favorable for a cloud breaking procedure in an area where congested traffic may be avoided. And weather conditions at suitable alternate aerodromes. ATC is also required to advise the aircraft operating agency, in this case, International Airways, to notify the appropriate rescue coordination center that an uncertainty phase exists, and to inform other ATS units concerned. In this case, ATC informs Emerald Center, giving complete information regarding the flight, including estimated time of arrival and alternate aerodrome, either by voice communication or by sending a radio communication failure message. It is essential that all ATC units concerned keep the airspace to be used by the aircraft experiencing communication failure free of other flights for a sufficient time in accordance with the filed flight plan, so that the aircraft will not encounter any traffic in its flight path. Now let's go back and follow the actual flight. International 865 is now at flight level 150 and approaching Topaz. ATC will expect him to cross Topaz at that flight level and to commence climb to cruising level, which is flight level 260 according to flight plan.
Just coming up on Topaz VOR, you can give Onyx control a call. For Onyx control, this is International 865. Transmitting line, we are passing Topaz at 2020, climbing to flight level 260. Estimating north wave at 2115, proceeding to Emerald according to flight plan. Next transmission, over north wave. For Onyx control, this is International 865. Transmitting line, we are passing Topaz at 2020.
As the flight progresses, blind transmissions of position reports must be made by the pilot whenever the aircraft passes a reporting point, a control boundary, or changes flight level, because of the possibility that the transmitter in the aircraft is operating. The next blind transmission should be when International 865 reaches flight level 260. The controller also transmits blind in the event that the aircraft's receiver is functioning. Unless the aircraft transmitter is functioning or the aircraft is observed on radar, the time is the only factual information available to the air traffic control unit. According to the filed flight plan, 2105 is the time at which International 865 is estimated to be at the transfer point between Emerald and Onyx area control centers. Now it is time for the controller at Emerald Center to make a blind transmission of all pertinent information.
International 865, this is Emerald Center transmitting blind. That is weather at Emerald is wind 350 degrees, 10 knots, visibility 5 miles, rain, cloud 8 octaves, 800 feet, QNH 1004 millibars, runway in use 28, correct time 2105, International 865, this is Emerald Center transmitting blind, that is weather at Emerald is wind 350
International 865 is approaching Northway VOR. The controller will expect this flight to cross Northway VOR at flight level 260 and immediately start climb to flight level 310.
Emerald control, this is International 865 transmitting blind. Over Northway VOR at 2115, flight level 260, climbing to flight level 310, estimating Emerald VOR 2240. Emerald control, this is International
865 will make similar blind transmissions again when he reaches flight level 310. It is time to consider the estimated time of arrival of International 865 at Emerald Airport. According to the flight plan, the estimated time of arrival is 2240. If International 865 reaches Emerald VOR at this time or later, he will commence an immediate descent in the holding pattern. However, if the aircraft were to reach the VOR prior to this time, the pilot would have to hold at the fix at flight level 310 until 2240, at which time he would commence his descent in the holding pattern. If the pilot had received an expected approach time that was later than his ETA, that time should have been used as the time for starting descent. Meanwhile, according to the current estimated time of arrival of 2240, the air traffic control at Emerald will protect the required airspace for at least 30 minutes, from 2240 to 2310, to ensure that the pilot has ample time to descend and to carry out an approach to the airport. During this period, the control unit has to make sure that all aircraft about to take off are restricted or delayed. Emergency equipment is ready. The protected area is clear of all traffic for International 865 to make his descent and approach to Emerald. If the aircraft does not land within the 30 minutes after the estimated time of arrival, the controller will forward pertinent information to pilots in command and aircraft operators of all other aircraft concerned, who will determine whether they will resume normal operations or take other actions.
Canada 580, all at Sapphire NDB. Flight level 330. Expect further clearance at 2310. Traffic is a DC-9 with a communication failure descending from flight level 310 at the Emerald VOR for an approach.
Roger, Emerald Control, hold at Sapphire NDB. Flight level 330. Expect further clearance at 2310. Air Canada 580.
International 865, this is Emerald Control, transmitting blind. That is weather at Emerald, wind 350 degrees, 10 knots, visibility 5 miles, rain, cloud 8 octaves, 800 feet, QNH 1004 millibars, runway in use 28, correct time 2230. You are considered a communication failure and traffic has been cleared for your ILS approach. Tower from center, International 865 should be over the VOR at 2240. We are suspending traffic for him until 2310 to allow him to descend and land. Please advise when you see him land.
Roger, we will keep you advised.
We're now just coming up to the VOR. We should get an indication shortly. We have until 2310 to complete our landing. We're right on schedule. The weather forecast showed a north wind, so we'll plan the ILS approach on runway 28. Emerald approach, this is International 865, transmitting blind. Over Emerald VOR at 41. Commencing descent and holding pattern for an ILS approach runway 28. Emerald approach, this is International 865, transmitting blind. Over Emerald VOR at 41. Commencing descent and holding pattern for an ILS approach runway 28.
Foxtrot 400, altimeter 3029.
DC-9 has just landed on runway 28. I think it's International 865.
It's an international registration IT ACM.
Tower to center, we have confirmed International 865 has landed at 2305.
The supervisor must now ensure that the controller sends an arrival message to all ATS units concerned, and that the Rescue Coordination Center and the operator are informed that International 865 has landed. We have just witnessed a flight completed without normal air-ground communication. The flight was conducted efficiently and safely. Both the pilot and the controller were fully aware of the other's requirements. By using established procedures and having all concerned follow a predetermined plan, an aircraft experiencing a communication failure can continue to its destination without undue risk to the safety of the aircraft, its passengers, crew, and to other aircraft.